Many of you, after our domestic terrorism seminar at the Capitol Visitors Center on Thursday, came up and approached me after the forum and said, "Fred, this was great, but next time you really ought to get Pamela GELLER on the panel, because those of you that follow this know that she was one of the first to really come out strongly against what was behind the Ground Zero Mosque in New York. She has co-founded the Freedom Defense Initiative and the Stop the Islamization of America movement, and her book is called The Post-American Presidency, the Obama Administration's War on America." And of course, you probably followed her terrorism blog, Atlas Shrugs, and she joins us right now. Pamela, good morning.
Hey, good morning. Thank you for having me.
Well, I'm really curious because one of the things that stuck in my mind after we were talking to people about domestic terrorism and the spread of the Muslim Brotherhood, both obviously in the Middle East and here, is what's the update on Ground Zero, or as they prefer to call it, Park 51? Because it's not been in the headlines, but obviously you've been following it.
Well, I mean, it's not been in the headlines because they've decided that the conversation is over. But we certainly have been very active. I mean, we did not one but two events that were SRO at CPAC, discussing it with, we had various 9/11 family members. We screened the world premiere of our film, The Ground Zero Mosque, the second wave of the 9/11 attacks. We had the premiere in New York at the St. Luke's Theater Sunday night, and that was a packed house. We had a protest at the New York City Council. Let me tell you, the issue is very much alive, but the media has decided, the media is sort of self-enforcing the Sharia.
I know.
We see this time and time again where, in the Sharia, you cannot insult Islam, you cannot defame Islam, even if it's the truth.
But I wanted to ask you, because I'm glad you reminded me about CPAC. We were at CPAC for a day too, and there was a controversy obviously involving Suhail Khan and others. But really beneath that was a kind of reluctance from a lot of good conservatives to really consider this issue. Is that beginning to break a little bit?
Oh, it's absolutely beginning to break, and you're seeing once again a dichotomy between the people and the elites. I have been writing about Grover Norquist, Suhail Khan, and the infiltration of the Muslim Brotherhood at CPAC for a couple of years, and I can tell you that many of the conservative outlets didn't want to run my articles. And it's why I go to CPAC for the past 3 years, and I literally put on my own events. I brought Herd Wilders, or as they say in America, Gert Wilders, to CPAC in 2009. Again, Fred, Brian, standing room only, and turned away roughly 300 people. Last year, I brought Wafa Sultan. I brought Steve Coughlin and Simon Dang and Anna Graves and a bunch of other folks to speak about jihad, the political third rail. Again, standing room only. The people want to know. The 12,000 that come to CPAC, they want to know. But clearly they've been sold out by a corrupted leadership at ACU. The Ground Zero Mosque issue has not gone away, I can assure you.
But where does it stand today? I mean, you said that they think that the fight is over. I mean, is it going to be built? I mean, are the permits ready to go? Are they ready to break ground? Where does it stand?
I can tell you that we've had an enormous impact. They have gotten nowhere. Imam Raouf has been moved, as has Daisy Khan. I'm sure you know. They were taken off the lead, and Abdullah Adami was replaced. And as you could see, I mean, he was even worse, if you can imagine that, because of his ties to Siraj Wahhaj, the unindicted co-conspirator in the World Trade Center bombing, and of course the character witness in the conviction of the blind sheikh. They have raised no money. We have been very successful in shining the light. Sunlight is the best disinfectant, as the Supreme Court Justice Louis Brandeis said. They have gotten nowhere, and that's because we have been very vocal and very strong, and we will continue to be.
Well, speaking of being vocal and strong, I didn't want to miss this opportunity. As you know, this very radical cleric in London, Anhem Chowdhury, is talking about coming to the United States to protest in favor of Sharia law in front of the White House. I'm assuming, but maybe naively, he will not be allowed into the country. But what can you tell us about this?
First of all, I just want to say about Chowdhury that he's honest. And while clearly he and I are on polar opposite sides, I respect him because he's honest.
Yes.
It's the stealth jihadists that I find most unnerving. What he's saying is true. I mean, we disagree with him vehemently, but what he's saying is true. They want to install an Islamic State in the United States of America. I would be shocked if they gave him a visa. But as we saw, the State Department Obama administration gave the grandson of the founder of the Muslim Brotherhood, Tariq Ramadan, a visa to come here, and he was banned under Bush.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure they were going to counter-protest this Chaudhry, but I think that it's important that people hear what he's saying, and people know that this is the public. Mm-hmm. This is the public face of Islamic supremacism.
Yeah, we were having that conversation before because he seems like he's popping up on TV on a regular basis, and I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing because here you have somebody espousing, a Sharia law, and it's plain as day for everybody to see.
And this is the face. This is really the face. What I find very undermining is the stealth jihadists that are working to install the Sharia. Look, today I have an article in the American Thinker. The American Bar Association has decided to undertake the fight for Sharia law. They have organized a task force to fight the legislation of 14 states. The 14 states, Alaska, Arizona, Arkansas, Georgia, etc., in which anti-Sharia legislation has been introduced.
So the ABA is defending the imposition of Sharia law in these states.
That's right.
Oh my God.
You can go to the American Thinker. My article's at the top. They have developed an informal set of talking points that local opponents could use in these initiatives to make the case that this legislation should not be introduced. Now, how did these things happen? You think these things happen by accident?
No, I don't.
No, of course not. There are folks that have been trained by the Muslim Brotherhood. Look, these groups, the Council of American Islamic Relations, the Islamic Society of North America, ICNA, ISNA, MAS, MSA, they were all named as Muslim Brotherhood proxies in that trial, the Holy Land trial,
yes,
the largest terrorist funding group trial in American history. They were all named. Everything that most people see and hear are through the filter of the Muslim Brotherhood, unless you go online, unless you study, unless you know. And so there are no accidents. But yeah, I think it's incredible that the ABA, literally, even though I know it's a small group and not a lot of lawyers belong to it, it's sort of like, the American Medical Association, right, same thing, but they claim to speak for the legal profession.
Absolutely right.
Pamela, we're out of time, but thank you very much for giving us an update. We appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks a lot,
Pamela GELLER, editor of Atlas Shrugs websites, and also the author of the book, The Post